This is the story of Kayla Mueller, a 25-year-old American humanitarian taken by ISIS, a woman who endured unimaginable captivity, and the operation that ended with the death of the world's most wanted terrorist, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. We will take you through every detail, from Kayla's decision to enter Syria, her time in captivity, the U.S. intelligence efforts, the assault planning, the execution of the raid, and the global aftermath. Through satellite surveillance, military briefings, survivor accounts, and operator insight, we reveal what truly happened that night. Kayla Jean Mueller grew up in Prescott, Arizona. She was known for her compassion, her activism, and her work with refugees and disadvantaged communities. She volunteered in India, Israel, and Palestine. Her friends described her as fiercely empathetic, driven by a calling to help the vulnerable. In 2012, she traveled to Turkey and began working with Syrian refugees fleeing the civil war. She helped in camps, coordinated supplies, and eventually worked with humanitarian agencies offering medical support. But in August 2013, she made a decision that would change everything. Kayla, known for following her convictions even when it meant risk, felt her work couldn't be complete without going inside Syria. She wanted to understand the suffering firsthand. Friends warned her, so did aid agencies, but Kayla believed it was her moral responsibility. Against repeated warnings from NGOs and US officials, Kayla crossed the border into Syria. Her Syrian boyfriend was doing communications work for Doctors Without Borders in Aleppo. After leaving the Aleppo hospital, their vehicle was ambushed. ISIS fighters captured them. Her boyfriend was released weeks later. Kayla remained in captivity, and for the next year and a half, her fate remained largely unknown to the outside world. Kayla Mueller's disappearance wasn't invisible. Within days, US officials had verified that she had been taken by ISIS, and within weeks, her family, Carl and Marcia Mueller, were thrust into a nightmare far beyond the reach of diplomacy or military power. ISIS made contact through cold, calculated emails. The language was clinical. The message was simple: pay $6.6 million and release Afia Siddiqui, the convicted Pakistani terrorist known as Lady Al-Qaeda. That was the price for Kayla's life. Her parents were stunned. They considered selling everything, raising money, even negotiating quietly. But then came the warning. From Washington officials, from the FBI, from US policy advisors: if you pay, you might face prosecution. If you speak out, you could ruin any chance she has. If you act alone, you might fund more terror. The Muellers were told to trust the system, to remain silent, to wait, and they did, for months. A timeline of captivity. August 2013, Kayla is captured near Aleppo. September to December 2013, held in Raqqa, moved between secret facilities. 2014, transferred to al-Baghdadi, held in Abu Sayyaf's house, visited frequently by Baghdadi. Summer 2014, other Western hostages, including James Foley and Steven Sotloff, are executed. Kayla is kept alive. Fall 2014, proof of life letters sent to her parents. February 2015, ISIS claims she was killed in a Jordanian airstrike. Survivors later confirmed she had been repeatedly abused, and yet, in letters passed secretly through fellow hostages, she remained strong. Even in a dark place, I have seen light. I have not broken. Kayla comforted others. She encouraged them to hold on to hope. When others despaired, she listened, prayed, and offered her rations. US intelligence, working closely with the SDF and CIA ground assets, began tracking ISIS leadership patterns. Baghdadi was elusive. No phone use, no satellite trace, always surrounded by loyal fighters. But one break came from captured ISIS operatives, SIGINT triangulation, and intercepted communications. Focus turned to Idlib province, a chaotic, semi-autonomous zone. ISR platforms spotted a compound in Barisha. Satellite photos showed 3-meter-high walls. Lack of civilian movement, unusual traffic and security. Human sources in the area confirmed the presence of a high-value individual. After weeks of observation, JSOC gave the go. The area was remote enough to avoid large-scale resistance, but close enough to the Turkish border to require delicate timing. Base of operations: Erbil Air Base, Kurdistan Region, Iraq. Primary units involved: 1st SFRD, Delta Force, 160th SOAR, Night Stalkers. CIA paramilitary liaison tactical combat K9, aircraft assets, MH-47G Chinooks, MH-60M Blackhawks, MQ-9 Reaper ISR drones, F-15E Strike Eagles. Rehearsals were run on mock compounds. Operators drilled every movement: breach points, hostage extraction, tunnel pursuit. Intelligence staff built digital models of the compound. Simulations were run. Operators memorized floor plans. Contingency plans were drawn for every possibility. Just past 2 a.m., helicopters lifted off from Erbil. The insertion force flew nap of the earth, evading radar and potential threats. At approximately 3 a.m., the Delta team landed on the outskirts of the compound. One helicopter suffered a mechanical issue but landed safely. Operators surrounded the perimeter. An outer wall was breached with explosives. Using bullhorns, they called for surrender. Women and children exited the building. Then the main assault team entered. Inside, resistance was met and eliminated. Baghdadi fled with 3 children into a tunnel. K9 Conan was released. Baghdadi detonated a suicide vest. 3 children were killed alongside him, but no U.S. operators were harmed. Delta Force secured. DNA samples, hard drives, cell phones, documents, and weapons caches. A rapid DNA test confirmed. Target KIA, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. On October 27, 2019, President Donald Trump delivered a televised statement.
Last night, the United States brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead. He died after running into a dead-end tunnel, whimpering and crying and screaming all the way.
The raid received international attention. U.S. allies praised the operation. News agencies called it one of the most daring raids since bin Laden. ISIS attempted to downplay the event, but within weeks, infighting began. Morale dropped, recruitment slowed. Captured documents revealed Baghdadi had planned new attacks, plots that were now stopped. In military and intelligence circles, the operation was a masterclass, a case study in multi-agency coordination, precision, and counterterrorism leadership. This raid wasn't just strategic, it was personal. It was named Operation Kayla Mueller for a reason. For Kayla, for her family, for every hostage who never came home. Delta Force operators wore her name in planning briefings. Her photo hung on the walls at Erbil. Her courage inspired the men going into that compound. Carl and Marcia Mueller, Kayla's parents, later said, "She lived with purpose, and she died with dignity. We are proud of her and grateful to those who honored her with this mission." Her story now lives on in documentaries, human rights campaigns, military history archives, educational forums, and advocacy organizations dedicated to humanitarian causes. She is remembered not merely as a victim, but as a lasting symbol of compassion in the face of cruelty, of strength in the face of suffering. Her life, her sacrifice, and the mission that bore her name continue to inspire generations of soldiers, humanitarians, and everyday people striving to make the world better.